Hi, I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. Tonight I have a whole bunch of yarn from Premiere to unbox, but I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to get the notification from YouTube that we're live and all that. So I thought I'd start with showing you, so last week we had a whole bunch of Lion brand yarns that I unboxed, and so these are the ones, if you remember last week, if you were watching, there were a couple that they forgot to ship. And so they were pretty responsive about getting back to me, and they just shipped them and apologized for the confusion. So I have Rebound here. Rebound is a 100% nylon yarn. It's a number 4 weight yarn. And they recommend a US 8 knitting needle, which is a 5mm knitting needle, or a J hook, which is a 6mm hook. It comes in 100-gram balls, 175 yards, 160 meters, and again is 100% nylon. It's very, very springy. That's probably where the Rebound and the little coil here comes from, but like it's got stretch for like days. Probably would make a really good hat, though it might be the kind of hat, I say that, but it might like try and keep like sliding off the top of your head. So it might make a really nice brim and hold well, but it might also just keep trying to like like I said, suck it off the top of your head. So, a whole bunch of people are saying hello. Welcome to everybody watching. Whether you're commenting or not, like, welcome and thanks for joining. We'll get started on the Premier yarn in a few minutes. I just wanted to finish off the Lion brand stuff. So, this color is called Gravity. I don't know if I said that or not. What I did notice is when it showed up, it looks almost exactly like this color called Flutter in the Dream Maker yarn. So you can see the lime green is a little more pronounced in this ball than in this ball, but they are nearly the exact same colors.
They don't look super close on camera.
Yeah, on camera they don't look super, maybe there with the green a little bit more prominent, but I promise you in person they're like dead on the same color. Maybe like that, I don't know. They at least contain all the same colors. So the Dreammaker yarn is a acrylic nylon blend, so they're definitely gonna look a little bit different, but anyway, so that's Rebound. Oh, okay, I'll get that later. And then I got the last color of Summer Kiss. Summer Kiss is a yarn that I showed last week, but I only got 3 colors. These were the 3 colors that I got last week. Real quick, they are grape, hibiscus, and blue raspberry, and then this is mango. So there's the 4 of these together. Very bright summer colors. This is a cotton blend, if I remember correctly. 80% cotton, 20% polyester. It's a number 4 weight or worsted weight yarn. They recommend a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 5.5 millimeter eye crochet hook. 100 gram balls, 262 yards or 240 meters. Maybe I already said that. But anyway, this was the last color that I didn't get. This is a chainette style yarn with like weird little sections of chainette in a multicolor, like mixed in with a solid color here and there. So it's going to be like a bunch of stitches of solid color and then like 2 stitches of multicolor. Stephanie's asking, what are the washing instructions on the nylon yarn? Let's see. I would bet that it's just regular washing instructions. Machine washable and dryable. It looks like no iron. Nylon doesn't have a super high melting point, so no direct heat. I'm trying to think. It looks like warm water, no bleach, and that's the limit of my knowledge of washing symbols. I can turn it around so you can see them. We'll zoom in just a little bit. So you can see there's the washing symbols right there. That first one is warm water. The next one I'm positive is no bleach. Then there's a square with a line in it. I don't remember what that one means. And something about parking. I think that's probably a permanent press cycle. I don't remember. And then the last one is a no iron symbol. So, yeah, this is Rebound. So nylon should be relatively easy to care for, but probably the biggest issue is the same with all plastics, and it's just that you can't use a hot iron. So the acrylic, the nylon, polyester, all those, you got to be careful putting like a hot iron on them. So, all right. Well, I think it's time to get into the box. I'm going to lower this box down so that I can reach into the top of it, but it's pretty substantial. All right. So, starting off, I have Premier Bloom Chunky. Real quick, there's another question. Wash and dry, cotton polyester the same. I don't like lay flat to dry because of the blankets. The cotton poly would probably be very soft. So I think it was the Summer Kiss yarn was the cotton poly blend. This is 80/20 cotton polyester, machine washable and dryable again. No bleach, no iron. It's fine. I brought it up. There's your washing symbols. I think that's cold water. No bleach. I think that one's tumble dry. No iron, and an A and a circle. I don't know what that means. So, that's what we've got for washing instructions on those. Back to the Premier yarn. I've got Bloom Chunky. So, I don't know how many of you would have watched back when we unboxed Bloom. But I've actually been working with Bloom in making a blanket with squares. I showed it off on the New Year's Eve stream, I think. And we're trying to work out the details for getting together a crochet along so that we can sort of do a video along with a square and then everyone can work on it together. I'll be real honest, I haven't put as much effort into that as I thought that I would by this point. So, it's still coming. I'm still trying to work on it, but I'm not there yet. So, this is Bloom Chunky, which is the chunky version of Bloom. Bloom is a yarn that as you work it, it stripes, but then it makes like a section of flowers. And those flowers are loosely interpreted flowers. They're more like pixelated flowers in like a video game. So they're not very clear, beautiful flowers. They're like little pixels of color that you can sort of identify as a flower. I don't have any of Bloom down here right now. But if at the end I can see if I can send my husband up and see if he can find it. But I can show you what Bloom looks like. This is Bloom Chunky. Real quick on colors and contents. So 100% acrylic yarn. They are 100-gram balls. They're 109 yards or 109 yards or 100 meters. So 100 grams, 100 meters. It's a number 5 bulky weight yarn. They recommend an 8mm knitting needle or an 8mm crochet hook. Wash instructions are machine wash, warm, gentle cycle, tumble dry, low on this. So, pretty easy to care for yarn. I'm interested to see if this yarn has the same issue that Bloom does, in that the color changes are very tight, and so you can't work like a 40-inch wide blanket. You almost have to work like a 12-inch square. And so it really only works and makes the Bloom pattern if you... I think you have two options. Either you make small squares and join them together, or you work multiple balls from the same point. So, like, you would work, in the case of this color, you'd work all the red out of this ball, and then all the red out of this ball, and then all the red out of a third ball, and then get them all to the same point where they're going to change color to, looks like gray. And then you'd work all the gray out of this ball, all the gray out of this ball, all the gray out of another ball. And so that's really the only way you can make it wider. Which is not a great way to do it. But yeah, so my husband pulled up a sample. I think it might have popped up on stream for a second, but you can see this is what regular Bloom looks like. I don't think we've made anything that looks quite that floral. Like,
There's a hat over there, isn't there?
oh, I do have the hat. Yeah. So this is a machine knit hat, where I crocheted an edge onto it. And it's a little bit thin, but would look fine on a kid or something, but is a little bit too thin on me. But you can see there's the floral part of bloom. And they look vaguely like flowers, but I don't know. I don't know that like you couldn't convince me that they weren't something else, but they look nice. I like bloom. Um but yeah, so that's a machine knit version. I think they look less floral when they're crocheted up. And it's one of the things that I really liked about the blanket that I'm working on is I'm doing every single square in a different stitch. And so you can kind of see which stitches lend themselves to seeing the flowers the best. Real quick, I'm going to pop back over to comments. Yarny Cat said that they like to see yarn. I think everyone here does, hopefully. So that's what we're doing tonight. So thanks for joining us. Stephanie likes the yarn and just said thanks for the replies. Tracy's saying that she loves the unboxings and understands why her daughter was obsessed with toy unboxing videos. Yeah, that I guess I sort of get it, but there's a lot of kids just unwrapping toys. It's funny because it seems like kids like watching unwrapping toys more than they like getting toys anymore. I don't feel that way about yarn. I would much rather buy yarn than just watch it unwrapped. Like I want it for me then too. And I guess as an adult I can go and buy it. So but yeah, so we've got all of these guys sort of off to the... Oh, you know what? I didn't talk about colors here. Real quick, this is Poppy in the red and black. Cactus Bloom in the teal and lime green. And Dahlia in the gray and light pink. And then all of them have the same color bloom sections, which are white with like a magenta and green. So white and magenta and green. Oh, actually, no. Poppy, I think, has white with black and red bloom sections. So these two have the standard white, magenta, and green. And then this has a black and white bloom section. A few more people joining us. Welcome. All right, those are off to the side. Let's see, what else do I have here? Sorry that this is so noisy. They've got them really, like, bagged up rather than just loose in a box. All right, so this is Premier Nordica. It has a similar, what do I want to say? Sort of a similar flare as Bloom. It's a self-patterning yarn. So you might be able to see the label here. This lady's wearing a sweater that's got like these really cool sort of Norse symbols on the pattern. We're going to zoom in so you can maybe see a little bit better. But as you work this, it's supposed to make sort of a Nordic looking pattern. So you can see it's striped, but there's these sections in here where there's kind of like a cool little... I keep wanting to say Celtic, but it's not Celtic. It's supposed to be more Norse, but sort of the same idea. Let's see. This is a new yarn from Premier. So is Bloom Chunky, actually. Brand new. This is I think this is 100% acrylic. This is their anti-pilling acrylic. It feels very nice, very, very soft. It's a number 3 lightweight yarn. It looks finer than a DK weight. So number 3 is normally a DK weight. It also looks like they've put a sticker over. So I don't know if you can see this on the package, but they obviously printed the labels and then there's a sticker on top. And I'm actually going to see if I can peel it off and see what it used to say. It says adult medium sweater, 4 skeins. And they had it looks like originally listed as a number 4 weight yarn. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing here. There's a sticker underneath, and they've stickered all the packages. And then it looks like the hook recommendations also went down. So they're recommending 4 skeins of this for an adult sweater. I don't know if that still holds true, because they covered it up. So we'll assume that that's not true just because they covered it up. And I even think that a number 4 weight or number 3 weight is probably on the fine side for this. It looks pretty fine. So, it certainly looks like sport weight yarn, or maybe even a little bit finer. Yeah, let's see what we've got. So it's 200 grams, 546 yards or 500 meters. That does put it in the DK range. So 546 is 250 plus another 23, 273, which really puts it right about a DK weight. So, it might just be really twisted tight, but works up like a DK. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it's probably a DK weight. Real quick, did I already do stats? They recommend a 4mm knitting needle, a 4mm crochet hook, which is a G hook, machine wash cold, tumble dry, and then again, this is their anti-pilling, which is supposed to like hold up really, really well, to washing and over and over again and still look good. I haven't done enough with Premier besides the Deborah Norville everyday yarn. I've made some baby blankets out of that have held up pretty well, but I don't even know that that's one of their like big anti-pilling yarns. So, I think maybe all of their Premier everyday yarns are now anti-pilling, but I don't know that they were previously, or they're just marketing it more heavily. So, this is the color Spearmint. This is the color Ice Blue. It's a really pretty steel blue. And then there are sections of like a brighter blue in here. That'll stripe. If I turned this actually might have been the better picture to show than the sweater. Is like the swatch. So if we zoom in a little bit again. There you can see that detail a little bit more here. So there's kind of a Norse or Celtic kind of looking pattern. Here's the other one worked up. But that's what's supposed to work up in each of these. So again, Spearmint is a really pretty like sage green and has these darker green sections. Ice Blue is a real nice steel gray blue and darker blue. And that's all I see in colors in that. And then this one is called Harbor Gray. And it's a very nice kind of a dove gray, like a pale gray, and then like a darker gray in here as well. And then a bunch of white. So, that is Premier Nordica. So I'm pretty excited to work this up. I know my husband's excited to work it up. He uses the circular knitting machine, and then usually I finish off the hats for him. But yeah, so this should be pretty interesting to try and try and work into something. It'll also be really interesting to compare how it knits up versus how it crochets. So, I don't knit, like, I don't hand knit, so we just have the circular knitting machine, and that does a pretty good job of just showing what it would look like if you just knit a tube, basically. Stephanie's saying that she really likes the Nordica and that the pattern is amazing. I thought it was really cool looking when I was looking online, so that's why I got it. Alright. Now Premier did some weird things where I ordered like 4 different yarns, and they ended up all like 1 in each bag. So I'm going to sort these out real quick so that I can show you colors that belong together. Man, is that crazy. Alright, we'll go to that one first. So, a while back, I showed a yarn called Side Dish from Lion Brand, and I did a review, and it was not overly positive. Side Dish is like a number 6 weight cotton yarn that was just really... It was so loosely spun. I might actually have the dishcloth right here. Yeah, I do. So this is what I made out of Side Dish. It was a bad attempt at a, I mean, it's a washcloth like in size, but it's just so lumpy because of how big the yarn was, and the pattern is just really like heavily textured. So there's more of a flat side. Yeah, that's fine. So you can see it's really like lumpy because I picked a textured pattern. But I don't know where the best place to show this. You might have to get in even tighter if you can. But the yarn was really, really loosely held together. So it really wanted to split. You can see like in here you can see each individual ply, and like without any trouble I can just pick these plies up. And what happened there was that I had a ton of splitting. So you can see like there's a loop right there that's split out. There's another loop on the same stitch that's split out. And that's all throughout. There's just splits, and I just sort of gave up like halfway through, ripping stitches back out and fixing split stitches. So I didn't give it a particularly positive review. But I didn't mind the idea of a heavyweight cotton. Like there's a lot of things that you could do with something like that, but having it so loosely spun together just didn't work. And so I sort of abandoned this, and some people made comments that they sort of liked the yarn and they wished that it, there was something available. I don't think Side Dish is available real readily anywhere anymore. I think other people had sort of the same opinion that I did, that it just wasn't super great. Like it was a good idea, but poor execution. But I came across this yarn, and this is Premier Home Cotton XL. And it is a chainette style cotton. It is, however, a cotton poly blend. So it is 85% cotton, 15% polyester. It's a 300 gram ball, and for that you get a whopping 82 yards, or 75 meters. It's a number 7 jumbo yarn. They recommend a 15 millimeter knitting needle or a 15 millimeter crochet hook. Machine washable. You can throw it in the dryer, just no bleach. And they don't recommend ironing it, again, because it's partially plastic. It's polyester in it. And so I got the end of this freed here. These things are just like they're so little. Like this is 100. That's a 200 gram ball, but like I don't know, this is a 100-gram ball and this is a 300-gram ball, and like, it's so dense. But yeah, you can see here that this is a chainette, like it's a tube. We'll get zoomed back in so you can see, because it's hard to see this against the background. I'm gonna switch and lay it down. Just so that there's some contrast. It's not showing up particularly well. But you can see here, it's like a knit tube. And you can pick it apart, but this actually tends to be a lot less splitty because it's all knit into a tube. And so when you go to pick up your stitches, the yarns tend to stay together just a little bit better. You certainly, because of the size of this yarn, if you were using a smaller crochet hook, you certainly could go right through the middle, and that would be kind of a mess. But yeah, it for anybody who liked side dish and wished that it was either more available or was just a little bit better, this might be an option. So at least that was my thought. I think I've commented a couple of people on that old side dish video that I was just made aware that this exists. And I think this is pretty new product from Premier. So if you want to make giant cotton things, this might be an option for you. So, colors on this are eggplant and pewter. So, it's pretty dark purple and a nice light gray. So, they're really heavy. All right, moving on. This is another fairly new yarn from Premier. This is not like the newest new yarn, but came out pretty recently. This is Spun Colors. Spun Colors is a very, very loosely held together, like roving style yarn. Trying to get an end here. Premier did a nice job here of tucking the ends in so they were easily accessible. Well, at least I thought they did. Oh wait, it's over here. Okay. So, this yarn is a roving style yarn. And so it's single ply, and it's going to be the kind... Oh, it's actually stronger than I would have thought. It's going to be the kind where if you... Usually... Well, I don't know what Premier did. So normally, if you pull on roving style yarn, it will just fall apart on you. But they've done something in here to prevent that from happening. Because I cannot break it. Now I kind of want to know what is going on here. Sorry, I gotta pick apart some yarn. Let's see. Stephanie's asking, would that be okay for dishcloths and pot holders? I like chunky yarn best to work with. Should be fine for dishcloths. Pot holders, you're just gonna have to see how it goes. Because it's got polyester in it, it probably will be okay, but I don't want to say yes because plastic's plastic. So I think probably most pot holders have like polyfill in them. You know what I mean? Like they're stuffed basically. So polyester's melting point might be high enough to tolerate like most dishes coming in and out of the oven. But like maybe you shouldn't use it for a grill type of situation. You might just have to kind of look around and see what people recommend. I can take a look later and see what polyester's melting point is. But yeah, I think it would be probably okay for pot holders. It almost certainly would be fine for like a trivet, like a thing that you're gonna set on the counter to protect the counter. But it might get like a little bit crunchy over time if you put really hot pots on it. Over and over and over again. Tracy is asking if I think it could be used to make small rugs. Yeah, I think that this probably would make an okay rug. Yeah, this dishcloth is pretty rug-like. This took the entire ball of side dish to make this dishcloth, though. So it doesn't go very far. If you work it up kind of dense, like it's 300 grams, but it's only 82 yards. So like it's only going to get you so much. It's just going to get you like a taller thing. So this got me like an 8x8 square, but it's like, I don't know, at least a solid like half-inch thick. So, so yeah, if you want to make rugs out of it, you're probably going to be looking at buying a lot of it. Somebody said this looks like my hair. It's pretty close. Got a lot of the same colors. I got a lot of teal put in this last time that I went and got my hair done, which is not showing up on stream at all. Yeah, but anyway. So yeah, I have no idea what Premiere did to make this so strong. I'm gonna probably sit and pick it apart and figure out what is going on here. Normally, when you have a roving style yarn, oh, I got a hold of it now. So normally you can just pull it apart like, and I had this happen with a hat that, like I said, my husband makes them and then I usually finish them off. And when I pulled on the roving style yarn, which yarn was that? No, we haven't used that yet. Yeah, it's a little chaotic over here. Oh, it was the Red Heart Melange Roll With It, which is a roving style yarn. And you can pull, and it just, like, separates. And then, so when I gathered my stitches up and then pulled to cinch the hat on top, the yarn just separated. So generally I warn people to be careful about that, but I can't break this. So, I can separate it out at the end, but the whole structure doesn't want to come together or come apart. So, I think when I originally said this is a roving style yarn, I might actually be wrong here. This looks actually like it's made to look like a roving style yarn, but I actually think it's plied. Now that I'm looking at the side here, you can see in here that there's like two-tone. Like right here, this one is purple and blue. And so this might actually be a plied yarn, which might account for the fact that I can't break it very easily. But they're very, very loose plies because you can actually get fuzz out. Which looks exactly like my hair. Whole bunch of people saying that they like my hair, so thank you very much. It's, I don't know, it's a lot of fun to have your hair be bright colors like this. It's a lot of upkeep. I think I go like every 6-8 weeks and have it redone. But I don't know, it's fun. So, thank you very much. Let's see. Patricia's saying that she's used the XL for bath mats to step on when getting out of the shower, and that works. So, to answer the earlier question, it does work for rugs. And it looks like it took her 4 to make a 12x24 bath mat. So 4 of these is like a 1.2 kilograms. It's a pretty hefty bath mat. But I'm sure works really, really nice and is nice padding getting out. So, back to Spun Colors. So Spun Colors is a 65% acrylic, 35% fine superwash merino. It has a really nice squish and feel to it. It's a number 4 medium weight yarn. They recommend a 5mm knitting needle or a 5mm crochet hook. And they are saying hand wash, lay flat to dry. With a yarn with this much halo, I absolutely think you need to follow that. A lot of times yarn like this, like Lion Brand Amazing, like Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable, the Red Heart Melange Roll With It. Any of those yarns are all real halo-y and loosely spun. And if you machine wash them, they're gonna felt, like get all the fibers all like matted together, or they're gonna pill like crazy. So this is one that you really have to take care of. And I haven't used it, but my assumption is you're gonna really have to take care of it. Because it'll get real worn looking on you real quick. Is my bet. Huh? This one does not say anti-pilling. It's extra pilling yarn. So I got this in, let's see, what do we got here for colors? Mauve, Blue Ridge, and Mallard, like the duck. So I'm thinking Mauve and Blue Ridge might make a really cool something together. Premier's got a scarf pattern, I think. It's like sections of ripple stitch with like little accent sections of a color that's got a whole lot of yellow in it. I thought it was really pretty. My husband didn't care for it. But I might make that anyway with these two colors. I don't think these are the colors that were shown in that, so it might come out a little bit different. Let's see. Savannah's saying a waterproof hat or rain cape. For XL. I'm not sure I've got enough context. Or know exactly what you're asking. This I don't think would be waterproof. It's mostly cotton. So it should suck up water pretty good. And then will weigh just an absolute ton, I imagine. But yeah, if you can give me a little bit more context, I will try and answer your question. I'm just not quite sure. Maybe it was something else that I said before too. Sometimes the comments don't make sense because I forget what I say. All right. So moving Spun Colors off to the side, I've got Premier Coffee Shop. I don't remember if Coffee Shop was a new one or if it was just one that I hadn't tried yet. My husband thinks it's new. I don't remember. So either way, it's new to me. This is Premier Coffee Shop. It is not one of their anti-pilling yarns. Let's see. It's a 100-gram ball. It's 100-gram ball, 284 yards, 260 meters. It's 85% acrylic, 15% wool. They say that you need 6 skeins to make an adult medium sweater. It's a number 3 lightweight yarn. They're recommending a 4mm knitting needle or a 4.25 G hook. They are also recommending that you machine wash this warm and lay flat to dry. Oh, sorry, this is a machine wash warm, not a hand wash. So machine wash, but lay flat to dry. Where this over here was hand wash, lay flat to dry. The Spun Colors. So I have the colors Sundown, Turquoise, and Columbia. Columbia is kind of a cool one. It is like camo colors. It's got kind of an olive green and some browns and some like gray charcoal colors. It's pretty cool. Just different colorway. The turquoise is pretty much what you'd expect. Teals and turquoises, and then like a little bit of gray. And then Sundown is kind of fiery colors. Some yellow gold colors in here, kind of orangey yellows. Red, gray, and then kind of a black. So sort of what you'd think, like I said, like fiery colors. So that is Premier Coffee Shop. It's actually a really nice feeling yarn. It's got a really nice squish to it. It's a very lofty DK weight, and by that I mean like it looks pretty fluffy for a DK. So before I was saying Nordica was kind of a fine DK. This is a very heavy DK, and realistically, they're about the same, like as far as grams per or yardage per 100 grams. So, moving Coffee Shop off to the side. Let's see what else we got. I'm getting down to the last few things. So, these yarns that I'm going to open here in a second, let me do the same thing they did this weird, like, they put one ball of each, I got like 3 of each of these yarns, and they put one ball of each of the types in each bag. Just about done. Alright, so let's move these off here for a second. Alright, so this is Premier Parfait. Parfait is not a new yarn. It was just really on sale. 100-gram balls of Premier Parfait were 5 for $10, but the 300-gram balls, 5 for $10 is still a good deal, but the 300-gram balls were $7.99. Which basically is, still a discount on top of the 5 for $10. Instead of 300 grams being $6. Oh, wait, did I do my math wrong? Yeah, I did. Maybe I'm misremembering how much they were. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They were still a good deal. And the 5 for $10 deal was over when I went to order these anyway, so it didn't matter. But I convinced myself I was getting a good deal. Anyway, these are Premier Parfait. Parfait's been around for a long time. I did a review on Parfait layers. I mostly just bought these for myself. And I may do a review, but I may not. I kind of wanted to have some Parfait around. I've seen a lot of stuffed animals recently made out of Parfait. And so I thought maybe I would try my hand at doing one of those. There's some cute teddy bears and stuff. But now that I'm actually looking at these 4 colors actually look really nice together. And so maybe I'll do a baby blanket out of these instead. But they were just, yarns that I picked up and like the colors on. So I've got azalea, purple, lilac, and pale gray. So not super fun names, but pretty descriptive and accurate. So, that's Premier Parfait. Very, very soft yarn. I'm always amazed at how, like, slippery Parfait feels. There's so many of these chenille style yarns, and somehow, like, they have exactly the same, they're all chenille yarns, they're all made of the same thing, and this one always just feels, in my opinion, the best. Bernat Blanket is always, like, grabby, like a microfiber cloth that, like, wants to stick to your skin, and this you can just, like, no matter how dry your hands are, you can just, like, sit and pet. It's, like, silky somehow. Real quick, just so people know, this is a 300-gram ball. That's 574 yards or 525 meters. It's 100% polyester. It's a number 5 bulky weight yarn. They recommend a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle or a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. That's a K hook. They recommend machine wash, warm, dry, flat. They probably don't want it to go in the dryer because the chenille yarns have a tendency to shed pretty bad. So they probably hold up better when you leave them flat. And so yeah, that's Parfait. Back to the comments. Savannah explained the blue XL yarn was like a plastic texture, water repellent. Oh, okay. So it was just a miscommunication, thinking that this was more plasticky. It does look like I could see how that would come across. It looks just like rope in person. I don't know if I slide this across here if you can see what I'm seeing, but like it's so heavy. So, anyway. Parfait. Okay. Getting down to the end here. So this was Retro Velvet, and we had some comments on it at one point, and I thought it came in really, really cool colors, and I wanted to see how similar it was to Parfait. So, my initial impression is I think I like Parfait just a little bit better, but it's hard to tell. It's still pretty silky. Parfait's just got something about it that's just so soft. But Retro Velvet seems very nice. I think I like it better just on initial impression than Bernat Velvet or Lion Brand Velux. It's silkier feeling. I think it also was cheaper for the size ball that I got. So Retro Velvet came in 280 gram balls. They're 306 yards or 280 meters. It's 100% polyester. Number 5 bulky weight yarn. This time they're recommending a 6.5 millimeter knitting needle, or a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is a K hook again. Again, they're recommending machine wash, warm, dry, flat. But again, Retro Velvet, I've got the colors Orchid, Cobalt, and Teal. So, I think Orchid and Azalea are pretty much dead ringers for each other, except for the, like, shine on the yarn. So, Premier is just a little bit duller, and Retro Velvet is, a little bit shinier, but also, like, sort of crushed looking. And so it like hits the light. And I think that's intentional. Like, I think it's supposed to look like crushed velvet. And it, where, Parfait looks all one color, this almost looks variegated. Like, even on screen, it's showing, like, it looks like it's multicolored. And it's not. It's just, like, the fibers are just laid all different directions, where these are intentionally, like, very uniform. So, let's see. Do the XL have dye lots? Does look like that there is a lot number on here. So yes, it does look like they are dye lotted. When I've ordered multiples, and we can check, I've got one last yarn to show. When I've ordered multiples from online, like from Joanne, from Premier, from Lion Brand, they tend to send matched dye lots, when they ship them out, if it's at all possible. So they're usually pretty good about that. All right. So, last yarn is Premier Everyday, which is not a new yarn, but it's the decay version, which is a new yarn. So, I've always found it pretty difficult to find DK weight yarns in just like a multitude of colors. They're really nice for doing detail work on like amigurumi and things like that. And so I prefer to work with a DK if I'm doing amigurumi, but it's been a long time since I've done them. And previously the best place I could find was Hobby Lobby. They had the best selection. But Premier Anti-Pilling comes in just an absolute boatload of colors. Move some stuff. All right. So I got a few. I was trying to pick colors online. I think these are pretty close to what I was expecting. This coral is a little bit brighter pink than I thought I was getting. And I was trying to think of something I could do that was maybe a little beachy. And so I chose these colors. And then I was looking. I've seen a whole lot of dolls showing up on my Instagram feed, like amigurumi dolls. And so I thought about making one, but it's actually really difficult to find a yarn that works as a decent skin tone. Just any like nude colors in really any shade, like any like anywhere from light skin to dark skin. Like it's pretty hard to find things that look good as skin tones. And so I thought online that this looked like a good skin tone. It's very clearly just pink. And I mean, I guess my skin's pretty pink. But I think it won't look great as a doll. So I'll use it for something else, but it was a lot pinker than I thought it was going to be. It is the color blush, so I'm not surprised. It does, however, look like this skein got cut now that I'm looking at it. So it's got like yarn spaghetti going on over here. It probably got unboxed with a box cutter, if I was guessing. What? Yeah, but they repackaged it. So my husband was asking, didn't it come in a plastic bag? But I didn't cut it with a box cutter. I'm assuming that when they got it from Turkey at Premier, that somebody opened the box up with a box cutter and then repackaged it, because these all came like packaged. I don't want to say crazy, but like it was 2 of these and 2 of those and 1 of those, like in a bag taped together. So somewhere along the line, a box got opened with a box cutter, and it looks pretty rough. So I will have Premiere replace this, and then I'll use it for something else. So, yeah. So color blush. This is parchment, sea glass, and coral. And again, these are all Premier's anti-pilling everyday DK. And the DK portion is what's interesting and new. That's the new stuff, is the DK weight. Let's see. Those die lots match. Those die lots match. Those die lots match. So yes. Everything that I ordered multiples of, and I think I remember seeing them on the Bloom. Everything that I got multiples of have the same die lots. I think die lots tend to matter less when you're using like big box acrylics than they do like smaller runs. So like Spun Colors, where it's like a multicolor and it's got merino in there, and that might make a bigger difference die lot to die lot. Where this is probably, well, one, they probably make like 100,000 balls or something ridiculous of each color. But a single color with no changes, I think, is easier to replicate day in, day out. And maybe that's not true, but it seems I think Red Heart Super Saver has gone like away from dye lots, so they must just be able to like nail it every time sufficiently, or they do enough quality control to prove that it's close enough. Um, but yeah. Real quick, we should do some stats on this. These are 100-gram balls, 273 yards or 250 meters, 100% acrylic. They are a number 3 weight, which is a DK weight yarn, as they should be, being that they're everyday DK. They recommend a 4mm knitting needle or a 4mm G crochet hook, and they say you can machine wash, warm, and tumble this dry. So that is everything that I ordered from Premier. A lot of new stuff, some older favorites that I just wanted to get my hands on. So Helen's agreeing that it's hard to find a good skin tone. And just says if I find one, let her know. I wonder what I used for. I made some like Anna and Elsa and Olaf. Well, not Olaf. He's a snowman. Uh, yeah. That was easy. Skin tone. It's bright white. Anna, Elsa, and Kristoff. And those turned out okay. I think I ended up using like a Red Heart beige or something. And it was a little bit off, but it looked fine. So, Savannah's asking, does Lion Brand have a sparkly yarn, candy cotton, purple, blue, pink, yellow, green, like a rainbow? Sparkly yarn, candy cotton. I'm not sure. What it sounds like you're describing, I thought sort of sounds like Lion Brand Amazing, but I don't think it was sparkly. Um, do they have one just called Candy Cotton, or is it just we're just yeah. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. I'm not positive. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a sparkly one that would come in like pastel colors. Uh, my husband's saying that Ferris wheel comes in cotton candy, like a colorway named cotton candy. It's a bunch of colors, but it's not sparkly. Um, so, um, let's see. I've never used this yarn. Terrible differences in dye lot projects, different colors. I've seen some shopping live talking about it too. I don't know if I missed which color or which yarn, or if it's just the Premier yarn that we're talking about that has the terrible dye lot differences. Um. Oh. Oh. Okay. Okay. I just misunderstood. Yeah. Some yarns have terrible dye lot problems, like batch to batch. And especially hand dyed yarns. Just in the nature, even if they were dyed at the same time, they can still be very, very different. And a lot of times, like when I'm shopping at a like a yarn show, I'll go through the whole, like if they have 6 like hanks of yarn all on a peg, I'll go through and find the one I like the best. Because one might have slightly more this color or slightly less of that color, um, or a slightly brighter tone here or there, and so I'll be real choosy and go back and forth and pick the one that I really like. Um, oh, okay, it was not a Premier Lion Brand yarn; it was Moonlight Hobby. that she was thinking of. So, sounds interesting. A cotton candy looking yarn. Let's see. The hobby yarns, we can import them, but we can't just purchase them easily. My husband was saying he didn't think we can get them. He's showing them up on my screen, but not yours. They look interesting. But yeah, Hobby is not a brand that's easily obtainable in the U.S., but I can import it. So yeah, that is pretty much all I've got to show. I don't think next week we'll be doing any unboxing. I'm not sure what the topic next week. If you guys have suggestions on anything you'd like to talk about next week, throw those in the comment or the chat. If you're watching this later on, you can throw it in the comment section. But if you're watching live, you can throw it in the chat. But yeah, so I haven't done any yarn shopping, so no yarn will show up for Tuesday. So, a lot of big things coming up in pretty short order. So, there is a trunk show at a local yarn shop that I'm gonna go to. It's a dyer that I like, and I'm gonna meet up and have lunch with a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a while. So we're gonna meet halfway, and so I'm gonna go to there. So I think that's the first weekend in March. So I'll probably have yarn to show after that. And then let's see. After that, I'm still debating on whether I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh and go to the Pittsburgh yarn festival there. I think that's the third weekend in March. And then the first weekend in April is YarnCon in Chicago. So that's an indie dye festival that I've gone to most years of its existence. And we usually do quite a bit of shopping there. I've done a couple of little like video log type things that you can check out on the channel if you want to see what YarnCon is about. We tried to live stream there last year and it did not go so well. I had basically no service and they didn't have Wi-Fi and it didn't go so well. But we did like live, not really live tweet, but like live Instagram, the show. So we did a lot of pictures and I was posting all throughout. So, that should be the first weekend in April. And then I think that's everything until well, actually mid-April I'm traveling to Wisconsin, and so I'll probably try and go to the Wisconsin Craft Mart. So there should be some unboxings here and there, though they should be much smaller than these here because they're probably going to be hand-dyed yarns. So I won't buy quite as much as I do when I buy big box yarn. But yeah, and then I think that's it until August, which is Stitches in Chicago. So, well, Schaumburg, but Chicago adjacent. And then so we usually do YarnCon, Stitches, and then Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. Are the shows that are close enough to us to go to regularly. I've been considering Pittsburgh just because I have friends and family who live in Pittsburgh, and I might go visit and stay with them. But that's sort of a new one and not one that I normally do. So, I don't know what you guys. I don't know how many of you have traveled or gone to like yarn shows. Or fiber festivals. I know a couple people were talking about ones that were coming up around them, and we're looking forward to those. I don't know if those people are watching tonight. I don't remember offhand who all was talking about going to shows around them, but yeah. I know we've talked about going to craft festivals and yarn, not craft festivals, but yarn festivals, and knitting and crochet festivals, in the past. So I don't know who all has traveled, but that's sort of my travel schedule for the year. Um, and then really after about September, there isn't much to go to, which I always think is a little bit odd because that's like when knitting and crochet picks up. So, but I guess it's really when everything picks up, holidays and everything, and so people don't have money slash time to go to shows. So, um, okay, so Tracy went uh past Sunday and spent way too much on Beautiful Yarn. That's pretty much every single show um that I go to, at least. um and Savannah's saying that she's near Allentown. I think that's on the other side of Pennsylvania, if I remember. I think Allentown's Philadelphia adjacent. No? My husband's not confirming that or not. I thought Allentown. I think Allentown has a huge yarn festival. I don't know when. I kind of think Allentown might have an absolutely massive yarn festival once a year. Um, I don't remember offhand though. I think it's April 4th to 5th in Allentown. Yeah, the Allentown Fiber Festival is April 4th through the 5th. So, yeah. So at the Merchant Square Mall, apparently, there's a big fiber festival. But if I remember correctly, Allentown's a really big one. I could be misremembering that though. So you'd have to look and see who that. The list of vendors should be finalized for an April yarn festival. So, Savannah's confirming that it is on the side of Pennsylvania with Philadelphia. So, yeah. Trying to think. I mean, there's tons and tons of fiber festivals all over the U.S. and several around the world. I know much, much less about the ones outside of the U.S., but they do exist. Knitter's Review has the best calendar. I don't know why they have the most comprehensive calendar of just every festival, but I believe that's who. If you search Knitter's Review, and my husband might be getting a link for you, it's like Knitter's Review calendar of events. Yeah, that one there. Um, that is the best listing. Unfortunately, it's only sorted by date, and so if you, for example, live in Pennsylvania and you're pretty close to New York and you're pretty close to New Jersey, you have to either do a find on the page search and look for New York and New Jersey, and then just know that you're looking for New York City, but not Rochester or something, depending on how far you feel like driving. So you've got to. It's sort of difficult because you can't sort it by location. So, I usually search Illinois and Iowa and Indiana. There's one at a dairy farm in Indiana, late summer or something, that I've always considered going to and haven't. Actually, might be Ohio, but just over the border from Indiana. So we could be there in, I don't know, 4.5 hours or something. The biggest problem with going to that one is we lose an hour when we cross into Indiana. So up towards Chicago, you don't lose that hour, but we're in central Indiana, you lose the hour, and so we have to leave an extra hour earlier. And so we just have never I usually find out about it at noon on a Sunday, and it's over at 5. And we could make Indiana by that time, but we couldn't make the other side of Indiana. So anyway, I think it's called Young's Dairy Farm, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's a relatively large one. There's also a couple in Michigan that I've considered going to. There's a Sandhill Crane winery or vineyard that does two big fiber festivals a year with wine tasting and like drinking. And drinking wine and shopping for yarn sounds like a fantastic combination to me. It also sounds like a really good way to have people spend a lot more. um, so, anyway, um, that's really all I've got to talk about tonight. Um, yeah, does anyone have any questions about anything else? Yarn related, yarn show related, crochet related? I can't really help you much on knitting. I can maybe answer like one question on circular knitting, but that's about all I know about that. But anything else? Um, yeah. It does help us out too if you guys enjoyed the yarn unboxing videos. If you hit like, it helps out especially early on, but I forgot to mention it because it shows more people the live stream. But it does help just in general to if you like the video to hit like. Certainly if you're a first time viewer, hit subscribe. You can always ding the little bell and change it from preferred or personalized to all. And then if you ever need to reach me outside of a live stream, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Experiments in Crafting. You can also leave a comment on any video and I will do my best to answer it. Tracy is asking if I've ever worked with Lion Brand Homespun. I have worked with Homespun. It's relatively miserable because you can't really see your stitches at all. But I did figure out the trick to working with Homespun is to not work into stitches. And by that, I mean you should you should try and find a pattern that has V stitches and then work into the spaces. So the very first row kind of sucks a little bit, and then every row after that is super easy. And so I just choose only patterns that have stitches worked into chain spaces. So you can use V stitches, you can use shells, you can do whatever, but as long as it's only working into chain spaces. So you are mentioning knitting, so I don't have any recommendations as far as knitting goes. I don't remember it being splitty. It was just impossible to see the stitches. It's if I'm thinking of the right yarn, I'm pretty sure Homespun is the real like knobbly one. Yeah, maybe maybe a V stitch. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry, my husband showing me the picture just real quick. Yeah. If a V stitch sweater, if you're talking crochet, absolutely. If you're talking knitting, I don't know if that would be better or not. I don't know enough about knitting mechanics to be of much use as an opinion there. But homespun is one of those yarns that usually like divides the fiber community in half. Some people really like it, and other people absolutely won't ever work with it again. I'm kind of towards the would rather never work with it again camp. But like I said, I found a workaround. If I can work into chain spaces, then I'll use it. If I can't, then I don't want to touch it. And that's true of a lot of yarns. Burnett Pipsqueak is like that. There's a handful where you just can't see anything. Haiku makes a yarn called Caribou that's like a big fluff. and it's beautiful, but it's terrible to work with. Um, let's see. Savannah's asking if you found the hobby yarn. He did, and he showed it to me. It did look really nice. It's just again one of those things. Hobby and Ice Yarns and a couple others uh are companies from outside the U.S. and they're just a little bit harder to get a hold of in the U.S. You have to import them usually.
You know what? That moonlight, it looks like dazzling.
Okay. My husband's saying that Moonlight looks a lot like Dazzling from, uh,
Dazzling?
yeah. It looks a lot like Dazzling from Hobby Lobby, which is. Hold up, I gotta move over here.
But you
tight.
believe that
Yeah.
this was a dazzling colorway?
Yeah. So this is Dazzling from Hobby Lobby. And so we have this here, and this is pretty readily available. I think I do have the hat, if you give me a second. So this is, I think the color Sunburst or Starburst or something similar to that. Rotate it so you can see more of the colors. But it's got like a sparkly thread and it's a color changing yarn. One second. I'm gonna see if I can find the hat. It is getting chaotic over here. I don't have the hat, but I have the yarn the hat was made of. So this is another ball of Dazzling in the color Tropics. And what you can't see real well, is the really pretty green. There's a really pretty green that shows up here and there. You can see it if I pull that piece out. It's a little more obvious on this side. There's more green tucked in there. But this works up really pretty. So, it looks very similar to the hobby yarn you suggested, but if I can find somewhere that I can get it without massive shipping charges, that's usually the biggest problem, is not the cost of the yarn, but the cost of the shipping is usually like 100% of the yarn cost. So if I order $50 worth of yarn, it's $50 in shipping to get it to the US. So that's been like, we've had a handful of yarns suggested, some of which I've been able to get from Wool Warehouse in the UK, and their shipping charges are extremely reasonable to the United States. So I've ordered through them, and that's worked out pretty well. Let's see. Joyce is just joining us. Yeah, we're in the wrapping up stages, but the live stream will be available shortly after we're done. And hopefully you can see all of the stuff that we've unboxed from Premiere. But thank you for joining us anyway. If you've got any questions or any suggestions for next week's stream, I'd love to hear those from you. Let's see. Helen's saying that she's crocheted with homespun. It was hard. Using double crochet, it was a little easier. Yeah, the tighter the stitch and the more important it is that you have to like get the stitch exact, the harder that yarn is to work with. So like single crochet would be rough because you'd be trying to hit every stitch every time. She's also saying that the frills hide mistakes and help fill in the space when you do V-stitch, which is true. Yeah, it works up a lot more dense, because it's so like floofy and knobby, so that even a V-stitch is still a pretty solid fabric, even though normally, it's not a very dense fabric. Like a V-stitch should be pretty open, but homespun sort of fills in all the spaces. Crochet Nurse is joining us, and also a little on the late side. We're still here for a little bit, and I'm answering a couple more questions and taking suggestions for next next week's live stream. But hopefully, right after the video finishes, YouTube will start processing it. I would sort of recommend giving YouTube a little bit of time and watching the better quality stream, because then you can see all the zoomed in yarn a lot better. Because I think they get like a 480p version of the stream up pretty quickly, but then for the 1080 or the 4K versions, it seems to take a little longer. So, oh, well, it won't have a 4K version, just a 1080 version. But for a higher quality version, like, it takes them, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, something like that, to get like the nice version. So, it may be worth rewatching later on. So, Tracy's just thanking everyone for the suggestions using homespun. Savannah is suggesting a bigger hook gives you bigger hole spaces. That's true too. So if you absolutely love a pattern done with homespun and it's very solid, going up hook sizes will give you bigger spaces and make it a little bit easier to work into that. Also, with such a heavy yarn, going up hook sizes also gives you a better like draping fabric. Generally, if you work up a fabric with too small of a hook, you get a very dense fabric that doesn't like flex, and you end up with something like this, where this is a really heavy yarn. This is Lion Brand Mandala Thick and Quick. But you end up with like fabric that can basically stand up on its own. So it's a little bit floppy, but like it wants to just basically be a basket. And it was supposed to be a cowl. Yeah, if I remade this, I definitely would use at least a hook size up, which would give you really giant stitches, but they should drape a little bit better. So when I actually put this on, I can put it on real quick since I don't have a lav mic. But when I put it on, it's more like a neck brace. Like, it just wants to be... It doesn't really, like, drape or do anything nice. So yeah, I don't know. It's just not a very nice looking thing. So, anyway, yeah. So, I definitely would use a larger hook on heavier yarns. Crochet Nurse was hoping to see the unboxing. I really do hope you'll rewatch the video and take a look, because there were a lot of cool things from Premiere. I'm sorry you came in a little bit late, but the rewatch should be, like I said, available pretty shortly. And hopefully will be worth waiting. Let's see, where are we at here? For the Spun Colors, I might make so on Premiere's website, they have a scarf that's crocheted. It's got like a wavy pattern to it where they've switched colors. I might make that. I'm not positive yet. This has some really cool, like, I don't know, it reminds me of like Mardi Gras colors. It's not quite as bright green, but there's like teals and purples and gold in here. So I don't know, it's kind of cool colors in here. But it might also look really good with this yarn as well. So I haven't decided yet.
What weight is it?
It is a 4-weight yarn. Let's see. Trying to catch up on comments before they roll off the top screen here. Oh, for this thing, I don't know. It was probably an 8 or 9 millimeter hook. I don't remember offhand. I don't know. actually, whatever's on the label is probably what I used. I tend to, if I don't know a yarn and I don't have a alternate suggestion from a pattern, I'll use what the package suggests. So my husband's looking to see what they recommend, but I probably used whatever was on the package. They recommend a 10 millimeter. That's probably what I used. I would probably go, I think my next hook size up is a 12, and I would probably go to a 12 if I were to make this over. This, I didn't really follow a pattern. I just chose a stitch out of a book and made a loop out of it. So it's just like a big arch type of stitch. So I thought it turned out nice, and it looks nice. It just doesn't wear very nice. But, all right. Well, I think we're probably gonna wrap up. One more time, if you need me when we're not live streaming, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Experiments in Crafting. And then if you like the video and like the unboxing or want to see more like this, I'd love for you to hit like. And if you're a first-time viewer of the live stream, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications about when we release videos. We don't just do live videos, even though recently it's sort of seemed like that. We did just yesterday released a review of Re-Up and Retweed from Lion Brand. And I think we've got another review coming later this week, or possibly early next week. And more to follow. So, if you want to see yarn reviews, usually on stuff that we unbox, but other times, other things, subscribe to the channel and you'll get notifications about those videos as well. We usually live stream on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. We've been pretty consistent about it, but if I'm not able to live stream, I post on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and in the community tab on YouTube. So if you're not sure if we're live streaming, look there, and there should be a notice that we're not streaming. I try and date those so it's not unclear, because like the YouTube community tab, or like the community page for the Experiments in Crafting channel, is just basically like the days that we didn't stream. So I try and put a date on those so that you know that it's this Tuesday we're not streaming, and not, it's a notice from 3 weeks ago. So, and yeah, my husband put the link to the Re-Up video. If you haven't seen that yet, you can take a look over there. I unboxed the Retweed and the Re-Up, like variegated colors a few weeks ago. So if you want to see like a follow-up on one of our live videos, that's a more in-depth review. And I worked up some fingerless gloves out of the Retweed, and so you can see what I thought of that yarn. You guys would have seen my initial impressions, but this is like after working with it. So, and then Winter Nights is the yarn that the review was coming very shortly. That was the, it looked like a loosely spun yarn, but it actually ended up having like a thread of sequins wrapped around it. And so I actually made a second pair of fingerless gloves out of that, and so that one's coming very shortly. And you can see what I thought of that after working with it as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good week. Thanks for watching.